All right, good morning and welcome back. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. Today is our last lesson of chapter 4. Okay, so today we're going to continue practicing with proofs, just like we did last week, and deciding if we can determine that these triangles are congruent by either SSS, SAS, ASA, or AAS. Okay, or there's hypotenuse leg in special cases. So if we look here, the first thing we're always going to do in a proof, remember we're going to start with our given. So in this case, our given C is the midpoint of DF. Then I'm going to put also that DE is congruent to FE. And I kind of ran out of room, but that's okay. Now, I want to go ahead and mark that DE is congruent to FE. Let's mark that on there. So DE is congruent to FE. That's one side mark. And this all is my given. Now, anytime we're given some information, it's not always the case, but usually that's something important for us. So if C is the midpoint of DF, we know then that DC and FC have to be the same length. They are congruent. So DC is congruent to FC. And the reason is just our definition of midpoint. All right, at this point we have two sides marked for each of them, so we either need another angle or another side, and hopefully you guys remember, I can mark here EC is congruent to EC, and our reason is the reflexive property, which tells us that if the same side is a part of two different triangles, it will be the same length in both. So the reflexive property allows us to know that EC is congruent to EC. And now, as I have right here, I can put that. That's what I was trying to prove. Triangle DCE is congruent to triangle FCE. Now our reason is not prove. Our reason, if we look here, we've got one side, two sides, three sides on each triangle. So SSS, side, side, side. All right, now just a warning, on today's It's Learning, there's going to be two problems for you to do. And since when you're filling them in, you're not going to be able to put all these markings. So instead of a congruent sign, you guys can just simply put an equal sign like that. Down here, when it has the triangle, instead of triangle DCE with the symbol, you'll just type the word triangle DCE is equal. Equal and congruent, while not exactly the same for our purposes, they mean the same thing. Also up here, like segment DC, you don't have to put that over the top. If you want, you can write segment DC, or you can just put DC, and I'll know what you mean because of the circumstances on It's Learning. Okay, so if we look down here now, this next one, once again, we start with our given. So UR is parallel to ST. And then we also know that angle R and angle T are right angles. And that is given. So angle R right here, angle T, I'm going to put those marks in. Now, I showed that those are both right angles. It has a spot for us here. I'm just going to go ahead and tell us angle R is congruent to angle T. Some of you might have left that out, and if so, it's not the end of the world, but to be a little more proper, we want to say they're congruent to each other, and the reason is just our definition of right angles. Okay, we know all right angles are 90 degrees. Okay, so now, if you look, there's a couple options for what you do next. The next two steps could go in either order, but hopefully, you know, as UR is parallel to ST, these are parallel. If we have parallel lines cut by a transversal, angle 1 you'll see here, angle 2 is right here. Those are alternate interior angles. which tells us angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because they are alternate interior angles. Which that tells me I can put this mark and this mark. So now I have two angles. So two angles in each triangle. I need another side to show that these are congruent. And hopefully you see right here in the middle, this side from U to S or S to U is part of both triangles. Anytime that is the case, US will be congruent to US because of our reflexive property. It is part of both triangles. It's the same length whether it's part of the top or the bottom. So now finally we can put this. Let me mark that over here. So triangle RSU is congruent to triangle TUS, and our reason is because of angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Alright, two more I want to do together. Look here, this first one, there's already some information and it's already marked, but I'll go ahead and put it as our given. So GF is congruent to JK, which you'll see over here, GF and JK, they both have one mark. Then also GH and JH, right here, they both have two marks. Now the final piece that they give us, they also tell us that H is the midpoint of FK. And all of this is given. Now if H right here is the midpoint of FK, hopefully you guys know that means FH is congruent to KH. Right here, this side and this side have to be the same. It's our definition of a midpoint. Okay? Cuts it into two equal parts. So from here now, I can determine that triangle HFG is congruent to triangle HKJ, and my reason, SSS. There are three sides marked on there. Okay, we're just about done. I'm going to do one more with you here today. And this final one, once again, they give us some information. So SY is congruent to WY. And then, as you see here, SY and WY, those both have one mark. Then TY and XY both have two marks. So all that is given. Now, if we look here, hopefully you see angle 1 and 2. Hopefully you know that those would be congruent. And the reason they are going to be congruent is because they are vertical angles. Vertical angles are always congruent. And from here, we have SAS. So that'll go over here as our reason, side angle side. And we can put triangle STY is congruent to triangle WXY. Alright, so that's all I got for you today. Hope you guys have a great day, and please reach out if you have any questions. There are two questions like this on It's Learning. Remember I said instead of putting like the triangle sign, you can just write the word triangle. Instead of putting the congruent symbol, you can just put equals. So a few small things like that, but do your best and let me know if you need anything.